a Kangaroo Fern production.
A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate.
Thing we can do is just get stops and run. Stops and run, guys. Push, push, push every time.
Extra session with Kiko Malikdem tackles everything about the world of sports, especially the one close to the host heart, basketball. Updates, discussion, clarification, name it. Extra session has it. Extra session with Kiko Malikdem. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Extra Session with Kiko Malikdem here in Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate Philippines. And today we are very, very fortunate to have with us a former PBA courtside reporter and a media practitioner. She has covered a lot of events, not only in sports. She has a weekly column back then in the newspaper. And so, how is she now? Let's find out as we talk to none other than Miss Jannelle So-Perkins. Good day, Jannelle.
Hello to you, Kiko. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to everyone who's watching. Magandang umaga.
Yes.
Umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Yeah, the time zones are really, affecting not only the pandemic but the time zones.
Yeah, it's just so weird, in a way that we're more connected now because of the internet, but because of the different time zones, it just gets tricky, and it's so confusing how it's morning there. Here in Pacific, on the West Coast where I'm from, it's actually 3 p.m. So it's in the afternoon.
Yes. So, Jannelle, it's been a while, since Philippine sports have seen you. How are you doing right now, especially with the crazy pandemic things happening in the world?
It's okay. I left the Philippines in 2003. I was only going to study here, but then I realized after my 9-month course that I had wanted to be with my family longer because they moved here in 2000. So I was away from them for about 3 years. Although I was visiting Christmas, New Year, mga 1 to 2 months, I'd stay here. And then, after 9 months of studying, I got a year of optional practical training, which I took advantage of. And then after that, my intention really was still to go back after that 1 year.
Oh,
but then, there were other plans siguro for me. I never went back since. Well, I would go for vacation, but I decided to stay here permanently in the US. I think 2004, 2005, around there. And then 2006, I was recruited to host and produce. I started the first and only daily talk show for Filipinos here in the US.
I see. So it's 2020 minus 2005 or 2003. It's around 17 years.
I'm aging myself.
But you hadn't aged at all. I promise.
Okay.
I'm not joking you around. No, yeah. You still remain the same bubbly, the same beautiful Jannelle that the Philippine audience had seen.
Ang sarap. Ang saya naman pakinggan. No, thank you. I feel like I have aged. Or at least I'm matured. Dapat, di ba? Now I'm married and I have 2 kids. My eldest daughter is 4 years old, and my youngest is a boy. He's turning 2 in November.
Wow. So how has been, how is motherhood right now for you?
I love it. When I was younger, I was more into my career, so I didn't really think about having children. In fact, there was a time when my dad was already asking me, like, I think I was because I had my children late. No? I was already maybe late 20s, early 30s, and my dad's like, ano ba? Time is running up. You have a biological clock. Just really, putting pressure on me. And I really didn't feel like I wanted to have a baby. And then after noon, nung medyo mid-30s na ako, medyo nagpanic na rin ako na parang gusto ko pala ng baby. So God has been very good. He still blessed me with a baby. I had my first at 38, and then my son was now at 41.
Wow, that's good. That's good. So, Jannelle, let's talk about your journey. Of course, it's time to walk back to the memory lane. How did you start your career in broadcasting?
Oh my gosh, yeah. In the Philippines, this is a story I like to tell. Because I've always admitted that I was never really into sports until I got my sports casting job.
Yes.
So in the Philippines, I was in college. I was in Miriam College. So I had friends. We were having lunch one day, and then a lot of them were into sports. They were playing
Mm.
basketball or bowling, mga ganyan. And then they were like, "Oh, Anthony Suntay is here of vintage television, vintage pa na." Ang tanda ko na. And then I was like, "Sino yon?" And then they were like, "No, nag-audition sila because they're holding auditions ganyan-ganyan sa cafeteria or somewhere, basta ganon." Kasi ko, okay. But they were all going to the audition. I wasn't really too keen.
Mm.
Pero since we were all going, wala akong kasamang mag-lunch kasi lahat sila pupunta. So sabi ko, sige, sasama na lang ako. So I went. And then they all auditioned. I semi-watched, but I was also busying myself with other things. And then until siguro mga 2, 3 of them, tapos na. And then Anthony goes, "What about you?" Pointing at me. Sabi ko, I don't know anything about sports. I'm not interested. Tapos sabi niya, "No, just come. We just want to see how you register on camera. So just smile and ganyan-ganyan." Sabi ko, "Okay, fine." So I did that. And then, I was one of the four that they got. Yeah, I was one of the four that they got, and that was they were looking for new faces now and
Mm.
student faces to host their parlor games for I believe that was 1995 PBA All-Star Games.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's when I first,
Ay, wow.
yeah, I was
Wow.
8 years old. Just kidding.
Let's do the math. No, no, just joking.
Yeah, oo. Anyway, so yun. So, and that's how it started. And then after that, I realized, I enjoy talking pala in front of the camera or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I went on to do a youth-oriented show on IBC 13 channel.
Mm.
And then after noon, kasi I was still in college, I was like a junior in college. Vintage wanted to get me to do more sports.
Mm.
Pero I was in school. So,
Ah,
and obviously yung games, di ba, hindi naman mag-a-adjust yun.
yeah.
Whereas yung youth-oriented affairs show that I was hosting on Channel 13,
Mm.
they were adjusting the taping schedule depending on the host's availability.
Oh,
So I
okay.
did that for a while
Mhm.
until finally inassign ako ng vintage sa mga Saturday games ng NCAA.
Oh, so
PBL.
NCAA. Okay.
Yes, yes. NCAA, PBL, and then just I even dabbled in newscasting.
So you want to start a podcast? Or perhaps you've already started one, but you're still unclear on how you can actually make this podcasting work. No worries. That's why we're here for you. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Join our network. Contact us at info@kangaroofern.com because we're stronger together.
Okay, okay.
But parang in newscasting, they said na parang I look too young. They made me wear fake makeup or glasses. Parang
Ah,
say ko, parang mas fun yung sports kasi
ah,
more dynamic, right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
And exciting. So yun. So that's where I started.
I see. So, what were the challenges you faced when you covered the PBA games? Did you feel nervous since it's a masculine or male dominated sport?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to be honest, especially in the beginning, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really know about sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
My brother was a huge PBA fan. Hinebra yan, tsaka Maridata. And so I always asked him, ganyan. And then that was one of my, parang like, I felt like I was pretending in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What they would do, vintage, they asked producers to follow me around.
Mm-hmm.
So para, yan si ganyan, pointing out the different players because all I knew was, I think, were Alvin Patrimonio, Jerry Rivera, And Horsey, yun lang
Yes, yes.
producer assigned to me na every time ganun, o yan, si ganyan, si ganyan, si ganyan. On the floor na yun ha, parang
Mm,
feeling
mm,
ko
mm, mm.
nagtitraining ako on the job.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning, siguro the first few months, they would uh, tell me the questions. Oh, ito si ganito ang best player. Pag ito nanalo, ito yung maitatanong mo. Pag ito, okay, ganito.
Oh,
Until
okay.
I got the hang of it, because there were times when I'd watch, because there's something I wouldn't understand, I'll call my brother. Yung nakita mo ba yun? What
Mm-mm.
happened? Why was it like that? Ganon.
Uh, you got a lot of help. Yeah.
I I really did. Tapos, yun, tapos parang after nun, I caught on to it. Tapos, I started enjoying watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yun, tapos, yun, and that's how it happened for me.
I see. Did you ever imagine that you would be a hit among the PBA fans? I believe you were one of the favorite courtside reporters back then.
Yeah, I could not believe that. Kasi,
Yeah.
kasi sobrang talagang, una, wala akong alam when I was
Mhm.
starting. And then, I did get nervous, but I think so it was a shock to me because for me at that time I was just exploring because I was a junior senior in college. I still didn't know what to do, no, after
Mm.
college. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a lawyer or I wanted to be in advertising, ganyan. So to
Mhm.
me it was parang like not really a game but kind of like a hobby, and I was
Mhm.
getting exposed and ganyan. Tapos I think that because I was always asking my brother and my dad.
Mhm.
I think what happened was I resonated because I used terms na parang colloquial.
Oh, okay.
I think, I
Mhm.
think. So, so that's what happened. Because I also, while I was doing that, they also got me to guest host sa horse racing show.
Wow, that's difficult.
No, but kasi my dad at that time owned race horses in the Philippines, and he would race
Ah.
them. So he
Mhm.
was he knew people then. And then
Mhm.
so when this happened, yung horse racing show,
Mhm.
and they considered me and they got me, that's when I learned. And yun scripted yun eh.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yun. So that's when I learned to kind of speak a little bit more colloquial. Ganyan.
I see. Okay. Now, since like what I said, you were a hit. Were you? Do you feel comfortable? Because of course, when you're in the venue, there would be some fans who would like to. Hey, Janelle, can we take a picture with you? Something like that. Do you receive also like mails? From crushes, something like that. Yeah. Telling you that hey, you are my crush, something like that. How do you feel about that?
Meron naman. I
Mm.
was, alam mo, ang hirap ng alalahanin. Dahil
Oh.
basta all I know, kung, I, yeah, I was, there were times when I'd get self-conscious.
Yes. Mm.
Alam mo yung parang feeling na when you're walking kasi in a sea of like players and all these men, there's such a masculine sport as you're walking, parang you know that people are judging you, sizing you up,
Okay.
mga ganon.
Mm.
Medyo nakaka-self-conscious. So there are times that are like that. But the people are very nice. I remember the PBA fans to be very respectful. Wala
Mm.
naman akong na-experience na untoward or traumatic.
Mm.
Um, and then my producer sa Vintage, and then it I think naging Viva
Yes.
yung produce. They were very protective of me then. They were very very nice and supportive and protective.
Mm.
I still keep in touch with some of them.
Ah, that's
And
great.
uh,
So, aside from the PBA, you said you had experience with horse racing, newscasting. Aside from the PBA and those stuff, you also covered other sporting events or national occasions,
mhm,
events. How
yeah.
was the experience? What is that event that you will cherish the most?
The event that okay, my first big event that I covered was the 1998 Asian Games in Bangkok.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, I had graduated, I think, from college 1998.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated, kinakabahan ako sa age. I graduated in 1998.
Mm,
And then I think the Asian Games, so that was around March. The Asian Games was in December. And I
mhm,
felt I will always cherish it, even though it was very hard for me. It
mm,
was my first international event. And admittedly, I didn't really know much about sports. And they made me cover different events like
mm,
swimming, all that stuff. Na parang I felt very green, but
mm,
at the same time, I was grateful for the opportunity that was being given to me. So I
mm,
had to study. I remember getting disappointed a lot with myself na parang
mm.
I should have done better, ganyan. But,
Yeah.
where am I going to draw from? I was fresh out of college and I wasn't really into sports until I got the job.
Mhm,
So I will cherish that because that was such a learning experience for
mm,
me.
mhm. I see. I see.
I think that was the time, I think 1 week, 2 weeks that I was there, I really grew.
Mhm.
Na, even before that, I was very sheltered because I was raised by a very strict dad.
Okay.
So it was during that time, in fact, every night my dad would call. Ganon. Ganon ka-strict. Oo.
Oh, yeah.
Every night my dad would call. Tapos, yun, basta, it was yan. And then that one, and then after that was the 2002 Asian Games in Busan, Korea. But during
Mhm.
that time, I was already covering for my article na for the newspaper,
Okay.
and because by then I already had like 4 years in the job, so it was a little bit more
Comfortable?
relaxed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was more comfortable. I was a
Uh,
little bit more
mhm.
relaxed. So yung mga yon, obviously yon, I will never forget. Those were my two biggest big events. And then of course, mga Manny Pacquiao fights in Las
Mm.
Vegas, which is, as you know, they're always very exciting.
Yes.
But when I moved here to the States, I didn't really delve into just sports.
Mhm.
So now I'm more into kind of lifestyle, more
Yes.
lifestyle, more current affairs. I think I'm still drawn more towards that.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, actually, when I was checking your work, I was kind of, at first I was thinking, is this really Janelle? So because I'm really used to seeing you, uh, handling sports events or covering sports events. That's why when I see the lifestyle shows, and then the newscast, it's kind of weird seeing you like that. But like what you said, you have to evolve. You have to learn new stuff for you to grow, something like that.
Right, right. Plus kasi nung time na yun, when I was here, syempre,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunities
Mm-hmm.
are wider if you can do more than just, during that time. Although
Yeah.
now I think it's the era of niche, like, you find your niche and that's where you grow. But
Mm-hmm.
during my time when I moved to the States, 2003, 4, ganyan, the more you can do, the more chances you have at like getting picked for a job.
Yes, I see.
Mm.
Now let's go back with with the PBA stuff. How do you prepare for each game? Each game in the PBA there's different teams, different egos, different attitudes. How do you prepare for each game?
Alam mo, bibigyan kami ng assignments, di ba?
Mm,
Tapos, I'll start reading up on the games. Tapos yun, I'll ask my brother kung meron siyang mga insights, o kaya I'll ask some of my colleagues
mm,
sa vintage at that time, and then they would tell me, oh, this is the story, ganyan, ganyan. And then going back to my producers talaga, there was one really good producer, and she really took care of me. Her name's Roselle, si Ate Roselle. She always told me, oh, this is the backstory of, nasa New York na siya ngayon. This
uh,
is the backstory of this game, and ganyan, ganyan. And this is what you need to look out for, ganyan, ganyan. Yung mga, and then I think slowly I got comfortable with not, kasi in the beginning, because nga I didn't know anything about sports, I felt like I had to know, I felt like I had to be technical,
mm-hmm.
right? Na yung,
Yes.
the rules and all that. Pero I realized that, and also going back to your question earlier, maybe that's why also I resonated, was because nagkaroon ng parang always yung mga backstories. This is the
Mm-hmm.
backstory. And I always kind of like reported on those, or because those piqued my interest as well, rather than the technicality of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So yun. So that's how I prepared. That was such a long time ago.
Yeah. What was the best thing about handling sports courtside reporting in the pro league?
Of course, you get front row seats, di ba? The excitement, talagang nafe-feel mo. And
Mhm.
then, sometimes may mga talsik-talsik ng pawis. I think Sean Chambers once fell on me, like, fell talaga.
Uh,
Tapos,
yeah.
a ball. I remember I was doing a pre-game show and then I got hit by a ball
Mhm.
on camera, live. O kaya, yung just seeing everything. Or kaya,
We are Independent Podcast Network. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Would you like to hear your brand while supporting quality podcasts? Contact us now at advertise@guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com.
I would, like, there was one time, I think it was a Ginebra game. I was very, very new. One of my first 10 games siguro that I covered. Tapos nag-time out, parang tambak na ata eh. Parang matatalo na yung Ginebra. And then si Jaworski pa was playing coach. I think I caught him yung last year niya.
Mm-mm.
So I listened in sa huddle and then parang, yeah, he normally, di ba, normally you talk about plays.
Yes.
Actually, nag-ano siya, parang sabi niya, okay, parang last ganito seconds or minutes, parang gano'n.
Mm.
Basta, whatever you do, just don't make a fool of yourselves. And, those things, it's, fun. And I felt privileged that a lot of people I know, admittedly, kahit na I wasn't so much into it, that there were people that were so into it. And, and I felt privileged that I had that opportunity.
Mhm. I see. Now, what was the challenging thing about it?
Um, the challenging thing was, you're right, sometimes yung egos, personalities ng mga
Mhm.
players, sometimes, you have to find the proper timing. Minsan, dumating yung time na, you have to ask him this, this, and that. Pero parang, while you're doing the interview, you feel like the other person is not ready for that particular controversial question.
Mm.
You kind of have to gauge, di ba?
Mm.
So yun, number one. Tapos number two, hindi siya kasi scripted. Siyempre, di man masascript kung may ma-injure or what, di ba?
Mm.
So also, I think, taught me how to listen.
Mm.
Listen, like, verbally, and also listen meaning watch and read between the lines, and then, of course, my first challenge, which is what I've been saying, I feel like a broken record. Yun nga, na hindi ako masyadong, when I started, I didn't really know much about the sport.
Mm.
Yun, so yun yung mga challenges.
Now, can you share? Yeah, well, you said earlier that Sean Chambers fell on you. You were hit by a ball. Are there any other embarrassing moment in sportscasting career back then?
Marami, especially now when I look back.
Oh.
Parang cringe pag like, imagine yun, nag-cover ako ng swimming events sa Asian Games na hindi ko na.
Oh.
And it came to a point where I can't remember who that guy was. He was a writer, and I said, look, can you really just help me? Because this is my first time, and if you can just give me a little bit more assistance on what to look for, ganyan. And then he goes, look, you're not a swimmer, and you don't know anything about the sport. So whatever I tell you, it's not gonna work.
Wow.
Ganon. And that parang they should have sent so and so instead of you.
Wow. That's harsh.
It was. And I was what? 17, 16, fresh out of college.
Wow. So how did you handle that?
I said, oh, okay. Well, thank you. I just thought that maybe I could ask for help. It wasn't my choice. I didn't really insist to be sent here. And now I know, had I known, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I'm trying to make the most out of it. So, yeah. And then I think the team at that time also saw that I was kind of struggling. So they pulled me out of the actual sporting events and they made me cover the mga side stories.
Oh, I see.
What it was like living in the, like, yung athletes village, stories like that provide color to the actual,
Okay.
Comment.
Now,
Mm.
you saw in your eyes probably one of the best eras in the PBA. What do you think, in your belief, in your, I mean, in your opinion, why is it the best time of the league? I mean, of the PBA, the 1990s.
Hmm. The 1990s, why was it the best? I think during that time, there weren't really a lot of competition in terms of number one. Right now, there's social media. People
Yeah.
can turn to different channels
Mm-hmm.
on whatever platform if
Mm-hmm.
they want to get entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, konting-konti lang, 'di ba? And PBA was one of that like big hit na because it's exciting, because the energy is something else, because there's also the mga backstories of the players and the wives of the players or the mga this and that. Parang it provided a whole a full range of entertainment for the male fans, for the female fans who were mga had crushes on the players, for families, di ba? For families as a whole, I enjoyed yung mga fans
Mm-hmm.
na talagang they would really give their all for their idols.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one, and of course the level of game at that time. So also I can't really comment. I can't really comment on that as much because I have stopped following it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm hearing as well from others is that it was really pure. It was really like even the players like were really playing not for the money, but really they're playing their hearts out. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah,
was like a big thing, and to us as well sa back behind the camera covering, parang we were all like family also, so it was, I think that also showed in our coverage, which made it even more fun.
I see.
Ikaw,
Okay.
what do you think?
Well, I agree with you with less social media.
Mm,
Thing. Of course, the fans are more curious with the with the players, and then there were a lot of fans who trooped the venue since right now we can just watch the games in social media, and then of course we can just research on the players through we can check
Google.
on Twitter how they are doing, instead of back then we have to approach you know the personalities to ask them questions to get their autographs, and of course one thing that for me one thing that I notice is that the players back then are exhibit the Jaworski type of play, the never say die attitude.
Mm-mm.
They're going for the ball always in every possession. Those were the days that I don't want to say that the current how do you call that, the current batch are soft.
Right.
It's just that the players were more intense
Yes,
back
yes,
then.
yun, tama. Intense yung mga games before,
Yes.
right? Like yeah, oo, tama.
Lumalabas din yung edad ko. Oh my God. Now, what were the things I know you answered this earlier, but were there some things you wished you have known before starting a career in sportscasting?
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking on the subscribe button now. This podcast is possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Knowing what I know now, I think
Mhm.
that maybe I probably would have learned more of the behind the scenes. I probably would have taken a keen interest in the how the behind works, because especially now that I'm in production, I'm self producing, self financing my own TV show. Yeah, I probably would have wanted that more.
Mhm.
Um, and then obviously it will help if you know about sports, and that's why I kind of want to raise my children that way also, because I was raised, typical Filipino. My dad's half Chinese, na parang oh, you're a girl, huwag ka tatakbo, madadapa ka, magkakapeklat ka.
Mhm.
Yung like that. So, yeah, and so now I'll encourage my children, especially my daughter, to
Mhm.
get more into it.
I see. What were the experience in the Philippines that thought you I mean you that thought you carried over in the other areas in your life?
Experiences in the Philippines.
Hmm.
You know
Especially.
what?
Mhm.
That's a hard question. That's a good one, but that's kind of a hard question. And I'll tell you why. Because here, immigrants who move here, I
Mhm.
always say to leave everything behind.
Mhm.
Because the playing field here in the States, it's so different from the way it is in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Like in the Philippines, like I said, I had, a writer, a producer, ganyan assisting me. Here in the States, you have to learn everything on your own.
Oh, okay.
And then also at the same time, siguro what, humility. Because I
Mhm.
went through all of that harsh treatment of me and, the judgment and everything.
Mhm.
It was easier for me to come here and and um, and not really carry my weight around,
Mhm.
because I knew that I had to start from scratch.
Okay.
And in a way, I started from scratch in the Philippines. I
Mm.
started from scratch in sportscasting because I didn't really know about sports. To be
Okay.
told to your face na, no matter what you do, you're not going to be good enough.
Mhm.
So parang that really helped me siguro here start from scratch again, because I know that I was able to do it and I can do it.
I see. Now,
Oo. Pero, go ahead.
now,
I'll let you
so
know.
after around 5 or 6 years in the sportscasting business, you migrated to the United States, like what you said, and left a career in sportscasting. I mean, what happened? Was it planned? Was it a hard decision for you to make back then?
Yes. Was it planned? Yes. Was it a hard decision? Yes. Like I said, in 2000 kasi, starting 2000, my parents, my maternal grandma petitioned our family for a
Mm,
green.
okay. Petition.
And they got their petition approved, but I was already 21, so I aged out because that's the age limit.
Yes,
So
yes.
I didn't move with them, so
Mm,
my parents decided to stay with me first and then send my brother and my sister to go to school here kasi sayang yung
mhm,
opportunity for them. And then until after that, my parents decided to migrate na rin. Naiwan ako. And I really didn't want to leave. I
mhm,
thought that I had like a good career with like a good trajectory sana.
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Mm,
So I didn't want to leave, but then uh, parang it was a choice between career and family. Eh.
yes.
And up until that point, I was always with my family and I'm very close to them. So nanalo yung family. My dad said, just come over, take a 9-month course. If you did, at least you experience what it's like living here. Because don't say that you don't want or you don't like it if you haven't even tried it.
Mm.
After the 9 months and you still don't like it, then I'll let you go.
Oh.
Parang ganun. I was already 22, 23 around that time. So, and then sayang din naman yung opportunity, di ba, to live and
Mm-mm.
study in the States. So sabi ko, sige, I'll try it for 9 months. And
I,
then 9 months became forever.
yeah.
Yeah.
What would be a factor had it happened before that will make you stop from leave?
What would have- Yes, no.
May isang bagay ba na parang showbiz eh, no? May isang bagay ba kapag nangyari ito noon,
Na kung
pipigil kayo
nangyari.
para oo.
Ah, you know what, in hindsight, parang wala.
Mm,
Probably nothing could have stopped me. I realized that my family was more important to me.
mm,
Kasi alam mo, Kiko, nangyari din dito eh,
oo.
with me. Because in 2006, I started the first and only daily talk show for Filipinos in the
Yes.
US. And it was
Mm.
syndicated in Hawaii, and it was the longest running Filipino talk show outside of the Philippines. But I started that in 2006. In 2014, 2 weeks before my wedding, I
Mhm.
also left my career. I also quit.
Oh.
Kasi at that time naman, I was getting, older. I wanted to have a family. I didn't want to be too stressed out, burnt out. I
Yeah.
told my fiance at the time, I feel like I'm exhausted. I don't wanna, kasi matanda na ako, baka I might not get pregnant if I'm stressed pa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
And he said, yeah, okay, whatever you want to do.
Mm.
Bait no? So, anyway, so I quit my job. And that's when I realized na, yun na nga, to me, family is more important than anything else.
I see.
So
Now,
yun, go ahead.
go ahead, ma'am. Go
So
ahead.
yun, after nun, parang yun na nga, when I left my show, I had built it up from ground up. From 2006 to 2014 was when I left. And then
Mhm.
I became a housewife
Yeah.
until 2017.
And
Na-bored ako.
it's time
Mm-mm.
to, somehow try to relax a bit, right? That's what you did.
Pero alam mo, boring ah.
Yeah. At saka,
Oo.
syempre, di ba yung mga malls dyan, minsan 6 p.m. pa lang sarado na.
Oo.
7.
Pag Sunday, 5 p.m. lang sarado.
Yun nga.
Yeah, tsaka boring siya. Parang, especially with the kind of lifestyle that I led from sports, diba? Yung
Yeah.
sports, sobrang dynamic, sobrang you're on the go and tapos yung daily talk show, everyday yon.
Mm-hmm.
So parang biglang wala na akong ginagawa.
I see.
I got bored.
Now, of course, like what I said, you are being exposed to basketball. You are surrounded by basketball players. Medyo makikichismis tayo ngayon, no? Were there some players back then who tried to hit on you? And how did you react to it?
Laging tinatanong siya. I I don't think I had a boyfriend, 'di ba, when I was there,
Yes.
in the PBA, and
Mhm.
he was also covering the PBA. So we
Mhm.
worked together. So people knew that we were together. So I guess that's why I felt that the players there were they're very respectful naman. I
Mhm.
don't remember any, friends, friendly text, 'di ba, texting.
Yes. Yes.
But none really. Meron ba? I don't remember anyone really like. I don't really remember anyone who asked me out. Parang nobody asked me out.
Oh, okay.
Oo.
Now,
So, kaya wala. Hindi siya juicy.
chismis pa eh, no?
Oo.
What is there any regret in your career?
Ah, regret? Wala. Wala
Mhm.
naman. Happy naman ako sa the way things turned out.
Mhm.
Regret. Wala. Okay naman ako sa what happened in my career there, career here. Yeah.
Okay. Now, currently, you own a production company named Jannelle So-Productions. And
Mhm.
of course, is a host and executive producer of a program in the Filipino channel. Can you tell us more about it?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
So there's a local station here in Southern California called
Mhm.
LA8. They
Yes.
were the ones who hired me. And they pretty much said, here's a 15 minutes pa nun. Here's a 15-minute block every day. I want you to fill it with whatever it is that you think that your community, the Filipino American community, would want to do. So
Mhm.
that's when I had my producer's hat on. And then every time the show would like inviting guests, looking for topics, and every time the show would be on, obviously I'll be the host as well, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I built it from ground up. In fact, after 15 minutes, after mga 2 weeks of 15 minutes, they bumped it up to 30.
Wow.
Para kasi yung mga demands ng advertisers.
Yes.
So tapos, and then I said, wait a minute, I know how to talk to advertisers as well. Why don't I sell my own show? Because
Mhm.
I know, yan, ganyan. So anyway, cut the long story short, when I left in 2014, I didn't get anything. Walang royalties, walang nothing.
Mhm.
So when I look back, parang I spent so many years working hard, building the show.
Yes.
I remember pa in the beginning, I would always be out at Filipino events distributing flyers, mga ganon. Tapos I got nothing. So I realized that ownership is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And for my husband, if I were to do this again, I would want to own my own production.
Mm-hmm. I
There's
see.
more risk, but they say you risk big, you win big, right? If you're just careful and cautious, then yun lang, parang the risk is small, then also the win is small.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So yun, there.
Now, how do you adjust? Of course, like what you said, you're the producer. How do you adjust things right now in the pandemic?
Sorry, narinig mo yun?
No.
May ambulance.
Uh,
Nag-adjust ako sa pandemic. Oh my gosh. Nahirapan ako kasi I launched the show in 2017.
mhm.
Alam mo naman, when you launch a business, kahit anong business yan, you don't expect to earn in the first year.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm. Break
So the
even pa lang minsan eh.
Oo, di ba? Plus, I was gone for 3 years. So parang I feel like I had to rebuild myself again.
Mhm.
And the second year, medyo okay na sana.
Mm.
Sorry, ingay. You hear?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
In the third year, pagpasok nitong year na to, ang dami sanang mga contracts na naka-line up. And
Mhm.
I felt like I even told my husband, I think this is the year where like it's medyo starting to pick up.
Mhm.
Especially TV because you have to establish credibility again, you ganyan. So finally ngayon, the advertisers were finally taking notice, ganyan, and then were willing to collaborate.
Mhm.
Tapos the pandemic hit, no, in March.
Yes.
It was really tough. It's really tough for me as an entrepreneur, but also here in the States, nag-shelter in place eh.
Mhm.
So my child, she was going to Montessori since she was 18 months old. She
Mm.
couldn't go. So
Yes.
naiwan din siya sa akin sa bahay.
Mhm.
Plus at that time, my youngest was 15 months old.
Mm.
So I had two children with me, walang yaya,
Mhm.
uh, and then running my business na struggling because nag-pull out yung mga advertisers.
Mhm.
Airlines, casinos na nagsara because of shelter in place. Tapos yung mga fast food, mga restaurants, syempre nagsara din sila eh.
Mhm.
So it was a struggle. But I felt like that this period was the time where all the more the community needed accurate news and information kasi ang daming misinformation eh. Tapos it needed to culturally relevant stories, the stories of the Filipino frontliners,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
then helpful tools, especially mental health. Very important, diba?
Mhm.
So I knew that I couldn't stop. So what I did was, syempre, since shelter in place din naman, it also helped me to cut costs na now I can interview via Zoom.
Yes.
True. Di ba, hindi ko na kailangan ng producer
Mhm.
or cameraman, gaffer,
Mhm.
whatnot. Hindi na kailangan yung mga ganong big production.
Mhm.
So parang ngayon, ganito muna. This was how, the word is pivot. You pivot
Yes.
to adjust to the time. So
Mhm.
and that's what I did. And okay naman, it's been working since March. Ngayon mag November na. So and then also I've started doing online stuff. A
Mhm.
little bit more. A little bit more. So I did to celebrate the show's third anniversary in July, we did an online event.
Mhm.
And then starting last month, we did itong mga parang webinar, digital discussions. We did something on education last month, and then this month, actually tomorrow, we're doing something on the election because it's very, very, it's such a hot topic here.
Yeah. November na rin. Malapit na.
Okay, November 3rd, and people are already voting kasi may mga early voting na eh. May mga
Mhm.
polling stations, and then there's also mail-in and absentee ballots that are
Mhm.
being collected na. So, kailangan we need to use our voice.
I see.
So I want to encourage the community to pay attention and participate.
I see. Now, uh, what do you advise for people that that look up to you?
Meron.
Yes.
um, hmm. For business, okay, for people that are wanting to move here, okay, always remember that uh, the grass is not always greener.
Mm-hmm.
And also, America is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people move here, friends, some celebrities from the Philippines, na bumalik din kasi nahirapan dito. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, there are some that are thriving. Merong former actor dyan na nandito ngayon as a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And he's happy with his life. See, Princess Ponsalan, I always like, because you know, she became a friend. She was an actress that left at the height of her career.
Yes.
Punta dito, nag-hospice nurse.
Yeah.
So, alam mo yun, but if you really decide to come, leave your ego at the door and be prepared to start from the bottom. Be prepared to start from scratch. 9 months ko dito, every night ako umiiyak.
Oh.
Ang mahirap. And I was already with my family, ha? Imagine mo
Mm-hmm.
yun.
Yeah.
Tapos, tsaka yung thinking about what could have happened. O siguro kung nasa Philippines ako, ganito ako. Parang, no, you can't think like that. Parang start a clean slate for
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
I see.
Tapos, yung advice ko as an entrepreneur to those that are wanting to start a business, do it. Because there's nothing more fulfilling than starting your own and seeing it grow or taking it as far as you can take it.
Mm-hmm.
But remember that starting a business is about passion. So you can't lose your why
Mm-hmm.
because and the why can't be money,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because if it's just money, the minute you lose it, which you will in the early years of a business, then talo ka na,
Yes.
right? But if you're pursuing something bigger than profit, which is your passion,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you're offering value to the lives of your followers.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think about what you're gonna get out of them, which is your profit, what you're gonna get, you know. Think
Mm-hmm.
of what you can give. And
Nice.
then finally, for motherhood, I think I've always lived my life like this. A family always comes first, especially now that I'm a mom, especially for the moms out there. And I always say this. We had a nanny. We had nannies with my children. Pero I still prefer to be hands-on because you know why? Your job can replace you. Even CEOs can be replaced, but your children will never be able to replace you. And I see it sometimes. You know, even with my mom. My mom sometimes takes care of my youngest. The way she takes care of him, and she loves him, but no one will ever love my children the way I love them. The
Yes.
way a parent loves their children. You know, so yun, mga tatlong advice.
Now, do you consider yourself successful, and what are your other goals?
Okay, do I consider myself successful? I think so. I think success is about going through your journey feeling fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that you're able to give as much of yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
My show, my business, I'm investing in my Philippine American community here. Kasi kulang eh. Puro mainstream na lang. Kulang ang Filipino programs here. And then, it's not about achievement eh. For me, success is not about achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And then, happy naman ako sa mga naging choices ko in life. Of course, there were some that I probably shouldn't have done. pero, pero in life, you know, right now, at this point, you know, I have a supportive husband. I have good children. So yeah, I'm happy right now. What else do and I think that is what success is.
Mm-hmm.
If you can genuinely say that you have joy in your heart, happy with what you're doing, it's not going to be perfect, but it can be beautiful, you know. And then goals, I really want to grow the business. I really want to produce more shows. Right now, I'm producing my show because syempre pag ako yung talent, mas mura, hindi ko nababayaran yung sarili.
Yeah.
But I really want to produce more shows. I really want to champion the Philippine American community. Ang dami nating mga stories here na hindi naman yun i-cover ng mainstream media all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I want my children especially to grow up seeing people like themselves on TV.
Mhm.
Yung kamukha nila, pareho sila paminsan ng accent, ganyan. Or, yeah, mga things like that. So that's what I want to do.
Okay. So do you have any message to your, fans, supporters, and loved ones? Yeah.
Yan. First of all, to you, Kiko, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for finding me. I feel so old because I talk to people and some of them don't even remember me anymore. Syempre, it's been what, 20 years na ba? More.
15 to 20, something like that. 15
Oo,
15 years.
so
Yeah.
yung mga fans ngayon ng basketball, they were babies when I... So, yun. So first, thank you for finding me. Thank you for inviting me. To the people out there, yun lang, siguro ganun din. Thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for supporting. And I hope you can follow me on social media. I hope to connect with you on social media. I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/sojannelle. And then I have a Facebook page, facebook.com/sojannelle. And I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/sojannelle. And on Twitter, twitter.com/Jannelle So.
Wow.
Yun lang yung kaya ko kasi...
Ang hirap mag-manage ng mga account.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's a full-time job, di ba? Minsan nakaka-frustrate because I have good interviews. Ang gaganda naman ng interview ko, mga inspiring stories, especially of immigrants here that are doing well. Marami ring nuggets of wisdom, but konti lang nakakapanood. Kaya sana you subscribe and sana you share with your family and friends.
Yes, I saw one of your interviews, if I'm not mistaken, that was with Paco Arespacochaga. Yes, and he describes his, his life there. Yeah, so like what you said, it has some nuggets of wisdom. Yeah.
Alam ko kasi si Paco nag-ano pa yun. Anong tawag doon? He experienced being a janitor.
Yes.
His job niya, cargador.
Yes.
And if you're picky with your job na, hindi, ganito na ako sa Philippines, dapat, it's hard to succeed with that kind of mindset here.
Yes, correct. Okay, so thank you so much again, Miss Jannelle. I know I said 30 minutes lang, pero we've, I think around 50 minutes na yata tayo. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for answering my, my messages. I really appreciate it. And of course, I'm sure maraming manonood dito. And of course, hopefully, we will be able to get you soon next time again. Stay safe there, okay, Miss Jannelle, and regards to your family.
Maraming salamat again. More power to you. And yes, if we're ever allowed to travel again, I'd love to go back to the Philippines. I'll look you up. And if you ever come to LA, let me know.
Yes, hopefully, real soon. Hopefully this pandemic, will be over. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of Extra Session with Kiko Malikdem. I would like to say thank you again to our guest, Ms. Jannelle So-Perkins. And I know you have a lot of things to do, but you still shared your time with us. So in behalf of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate Philippines, games are always exciting if there is an extra session.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrillas RV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production.